Hey guys, before we jump into the episode, I wanted to let you know it is brought to you by Revenova, the official TMS provider for the Freight Coach. You guys, I've been a broker for a long time, and the tools that are at your disposal with Revenova help you eliminate bouncing between systems, which improves your accuracy when you are managing multiple tasks throughout your workday. Plus, it's built into the Salesforce cloud, so your CRM is fully integrated with your TMS, eliminating yet another silo. In today's day and age, you are definitely concerned about the safety of your data. With Revinova, it's fully protected. They have cutting edge security that keeps your information safe so you can focus on what matters most, and that's growing your business. Speaking of growing your business, with Rate and Lane IQ, you get real time pricing and route recommendations, helping you optimize costs and improve operational efficiencies, which ultimately helps you make smarter decisions. If you are like me and have recurring shipments from non-EDI customers, they have intuitive cloning features that let you easily replicate previous shipments, saving both shipper and carrier rates with just a few taps. If you are ready to learn more, visit www.revinova.com to request a demo. Just do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. This episode is brought to you by SPI Logistics, the premier freight agent logistics firm in North America. For over 40 years, SPI has been diligently building the most successful freight agent network to provide first-class relationships for our shippers, receivers, and carrier partners. We are more than another transportation network. We are a dedicated team of professionals united by one singular purpose, and that is to expedite our agent success. All of our agents are set up for success on day one, as they are provided with a full suite of support staff that is ready to assist them with everything from after-hours emergencies to financial and administrative needs on a no-fee basis. This way, you can focus on continuing to grow your business. There is no financial risk to start, and you have the ability to earn up to 75% in commissions. If you are looking to take control of your financial future and build your business with the backing of one of the most successful logistics firms in North America, visit www.spi3pl.com to learn more. Do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys, provide some actual insight into what we can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I do say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Monday. We're going to dive right in. I got a very special guest for you guys here today. And, business development, sales is the most highly sought after role, but, the most highly compensated role essentially out there, because building a pipeline is extremely challenging. Building a system around it is very challenging, because things are changing all the time. And what worked last month, last year, last decade probably isn't working right now. And you need to be able to develop something to help track what is working, what is not working, to make those incremental changes. Excuse me. I'm going to like to welcome the author of my favorite sales book out there. That is The Revenue Engine. We've talked about it before on the show, but my good friend, Kara Smith-Brown, is back on the show today. Kara, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. And shout out to the book drop, like next to you on your desk. I love it. Thank you.
Literally, it stays on my desk all year round, because anytime I talk about freight sales on the show, Kara, I bring up this book. I want people to read it because, I know you didn't coin the ICP term out there, but there has not been a shortage of talk about that in freight since your book came out. And, it's really, kind of taken off out there. And, I look at with a lot of, as somebody who's actively building a company, right? Like, I'm building a freight brokerage from scratch. There was no existing book of business, no existing customers that said, Chris, we're going to come work with you. Yeah, I had a couple of ideas of people who I was going to reach out to. Ironically, my old contacts weren't employed there anymore. And it took me a very long time to still get in the door, even though I knew their entire supply chain, all of that stuff. And, and I think in today's environment in particular, Kara, it's so different to sell today than it was pre-COVID. Like, there has been a seismic shift on people's ability to generate revenue inside of their companies.
I totally agree. We talk about it all the time, actually. The COVID component has sort of taken a back seat to intent data and AI, but you're not wrong. Like the history is still there. 2019, we were banging the phones. You could get someone on the phone pretty easily. We were still sort of using phone books. Every single person in freight was on Zoom info. We had a pretty easy, it was Zoom info, download lists, spam people, pick up the phone, dial, right? And it's not working the way it used to anymore. And then now you're throwing AI on top of it, and everyone is using Claude to write more email than we ever had before. The volume of AI slop is out of control. It's really hard to break through the noise, Chris. It's really, really hard. A framework is helpful, but it's still hard.
No, I know. And that's it, right? Like I have been going through our sales process. Like I assess it maybe too much, right? Because I'm looking at it. I'm like, all right, what's gathering a response? What's getting like a little bit of a lukewarm, hey, not right now, but stay in front of us style of email. And, one thing, and this is going to sound overly simplistic, but it's the value I'm truly adding to their organization without asking for their business, right? So it's like, if you're going to use AI, maybe use it to create a bunch of data and a market report, something that they can digest that might influence their business or give them a little bit of insight on overall of the supply chain, as opposed to, hey, I'm in your area with trucks. And, it's like, I'm trying to find like there is no silver bullet, golden ticket, do this, follow this, because every single shipper is different out there. And I say that because like, I'm very fortunate to have shippers come on this show often. And what's funny is a lot of them will give me feedback on certain things, and they might be like, yeah, that wouldn't work for me. But I'm like, that's how I built a multi-7-figure book of business. Like, so it's like, it's so much on the individual as well. So it's like you throw that component on there. So, I guess a lot of it, what are some of those core pillars, Kara, that you think haven't changed, that people can rely on in developing business in today's environment?
Yes. So this is all laid out in the book. And for your listeners, if you don't have a book, find me on LinkedIn, send me an email. I'll send you a book. I'll even sign it. It won't add to the value of the book. It's still worth about $20, but like I'll send it to you in the mail. I want everyone in supply chain to be thinking about go-to-market from a framework perspective, not just blasting emails and getting someone to show some sort of interest, like a real framework behind this to be a little more sophisticated in our approach. The number one thing, Chris, is really simple. And it's so simple that it seems like a little counterintuitive, right? The number one thing is to own the email address of every human who can buy from you. Now, I didn't say email every human who can buy from you. I didn't say spam every human who can buy from you, but owning the email address of every human who can buy from you requires kind of three things, right? It requires access to that information. And today, the value of the email address itself has been diminished, right? So one of the things that AI did do for us is it brought down the cost of the acquisition of the email address. So if you're on an expensive Zoom info account or you're paying a lot of money for email addresses, that's no longer, you don't have to do that anymore, right? You can get them really cheap from a Seamless or from a Clay or from a selling.com. Email addresses are kind of ubiquitous, but the value of the email address is weighted on the value of the tool you're getting it from. The math that we have, the macro math that we have on the value of the email address is your email address list that you pull in January is diminished by 30% 90 days later. So every 90 days, you need to be cleaning that email address. You just said it. You said the people that I knew had moved jobs. That is what we're trying to get in front of. So the list you pull in January, you can't email that same list in July and expect any sort of material pickup. 60% of those people have changed jobs. So number one, 3 sources of data. Number 2, clean it up all the time. There is a reason why we just want to own these emails, and it is not to spam them. It is called primary intent data. So if Chris Jolly is in my CRM. I like HubSpot. It's my favorite tool. It's nice and cheap. If you don't have HubSpot today and you want it, let me know. I'll help you negotiate with them. So if Chris Jolly is in my HubSpot and he shows up to my ecosystem, he comes to the lead coverage website, he hits the revenue engine page, we're engaged on LinkedIn in some meaningful way and you come somewhere into my ecosystem, HubSpot will tell me that you, Chris, are showing up. It's the only intent data that is human specific. But if I do not own Chris Jolly in my CRM, you show up as an anonymous visitor. You'll never know that that shipper came to your website. Now, Chris, this is a trick question. Are you ready for the trick question? You ready? What is it when someone you know should be a customer shows up to your website? It's a trick question. You ready?
Yeah.
Goddamn miracle, Chris.
Yes.
That's a miracle.
I was just going to say that. I was thinking that. I'm like, that sounds like a miracle.
That's a miracle. It's an actual miracle. You have done something in the marketplace. You put some sort of economic value out there. You've been on the podcast. You are showing up in the marketplace, and someone who should be your customer comes to your website in freight. That is a freaking miracle. Treat it for the miracle it is and call them immediately. Chris, way too many of my clients, way too many people that I talk to, people that I'm dealing with right now on a daily basis, wait 2, 4, 6 days, 2 weeks to call this marketing qualified lead. Someone that you know should be a customer comes to your website and they wait a week to reach out. That person doesn't remember you. They don't remember what they were doing the day that they hit the Freight Coach website. You have to call them within that 5-minute window. Inside Sales and Harvard did a study that said if you can talk to a human within 5 minutes of them showing you a buying signal, you have a 900% better chance to close the deal. So your question was like, hey, what hasn't changed, right? Here's what hasn't changed. You need to own the email of every human who can buy from you, and you have to update it regularly. And then 2, when that human hits your ecosystem at the moment where they might buy, that is the moment you need to get in front of them.
Do you think people underutilize the tools at their disposal in today's environment? Because I look at like a lot of what you're describing and coming from somebody who's bootstrapped everything, right? Like I do not have investors. I can barely add. All right. Yeah. Like I literally just find a way. And I look at a lot of the tools, like you look at LinkedIn. You can buy a LinkedIn premium account for, I think mine might be $180 a year. I don't know. It auto renews. You can go to companies' websites. You can literally just search logistics and a bunch of people start to show up inside of that company. And then ironically, technology works for you. Well, then LinkedIn starts sending you, hey, maybe you should look at this person and this person and this person. And a little secret to social media, you guys, companies pay a lot of money for your eyeballs. So the more you look at something, more of that information starts to show up. And so that's something that I do. Like, I know not everybody out there has a podcast or wants to even create content that's out there, but that is such a overlooked way to get eyeballs on your company. But again, you don't sell your service. You talk about what you do, right? Like, and it's about building that familiarity because, and a lot of this started making sense to me because I do reach out to a lot of shippers to come on this show. A lot of them tell me the exact same thing. They're like, hey, Chris, I actually watch your show. I won't go on there because I can't even comment on somebody's post without my being flooded, right? So it's like, I look at it though, is like, but if I were to ever call them or somebody from my company were to ever call them and they're like, oh, Freight Coach, wait a second. I know you guys. I know Chris, right? Like, yeah, maybe that might get us 5 extra seconds on the phone compared to something else, but it's utilizing those tools that are at our disposal. And there is so much cost-effective software that is out there. You don't need the CRMs that cost $100,000 or the lead gen software. You brought up ZoomInfo, highly priced, right? Like I've been out there. It's like, maybe to some people $1,000 or $1,200 a month isn't much for that. Like that is way too much money for somebody in my current economic situation of building my company when there's cost-effective tools that are out there. Like we use a company called Optimus. It's very cost-effective and gets us way more actual intent data than anything else I've seen out there.
Well, and what he's building is also freight specific.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, so very much.
The freight specific, we call this single stream intent. So Optimus, and then the other one we really like is carrier source, right? A little bit different of an approach, but similar similar delivery, right? Relatively inexpensive, right? Not super, super expensive, but gets you hyper focused. I would call it signals. That's what I would kind of think about it as. It's the whole language around intent data and macro intent and signal stacking and signals is getting really confusing. And it has a tendency to confuse some of our clients too. Like they'll use the word ABM and it's just inappropriate and they don't know what programmatic media buying is. And it's fine. Like I'm not expecting anyone to be an expert at marketing technology, like language at this point. Like that's my job, right? Like, let me educate you. But the short answer is yes, freight specific intent tools, I think are where you should start, not with the Zoom Infos or Six Senses of the world. They're super expensive. Also, think about it. They're doing the entire marketplace, right? Zoom Info is looking at everybody, freight tech, ed tech, martech, fintech, right? You're asking for this little tiny sliver of what Zoom Info might be looking for. But even then, when I talked to Zoom Info Christmas of 22, they were like, we're uninterested in freight. We just don't want to spend time on this marketplace. We want to go after tech. So again, back to the point I made earlier, the value is in the tool that you are working with, not necessarily the output of the tool.
What are some mistakes you see out there? Like you said, own the email address, right? Like you have the domain, you got all of that. What are some mistakes that most sales reps make in regards to their prospecting? I know from, when you just put founder in your LinkedIn, you get peppered all the time with more stuff than you actually need. Do you think that is the AI slop you were describing earlier? Is like, oh, just because they have the email address doesn't mean they should be sending what they're sending.
Yes. Just because you have an email address doesn't mean that you should abuse it. I mean, I was at a shipper conference for a client maybe it was a year and a half ago. And I sat down next to a guy and we started talking and I said, he didn't want to talk to me. Like he didn't even want to engage with me. And I said, listen, you're not my customer. Like I don't work for shippers. So, and then he like loosened up and he was like, okay, great. I'm like, I have nothing to sell you. Like I work for this company, not for, you know what I mean? So long story short, shippers you're not going to give you their email addresses, right? Like it's just not going to happen. You're right. They get overwhelmed. So instead of spamming everyone also think about it, Chris, like if you're just pulling lists out of Zoom Info and mass blasting people, so is everyone else. Correct. Like those email addresses are getting abused because they're part of Zoom Info or Clay or Leadfeeder or whatever you're using. And so we try to find, the email addresses of the folks who aren't necessarily on those tools and then listen. We are listening to what they think might be important. You said something a second ago that I think is really important for people to hear, Chris. So lead coverage is my business. We have had probably close to 100 clients by now, but today we have 40 clients only in supply chain. We are hyper specific to freight. And all we do every day, all day is go to market in this space, right? So I don't do operations. All I do is help people get noticed. And what we're seeing is that people are thinking about two things kind of inappropriately. Yeah. One is perfection is the enemy of progress. So you have to put it out there. You are the master of this. You just started this podcast. I don't know, how many years ago is it now? 3 or 4 years ago?
6 years.
6 years ago. Good grief. Okay. So you started this 6 years ago, and no offense, you and I are friends. You had no business having a freight podcast, right?
Absolutely.
Like you just kind of did it. You were just like, I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to start wearing an orange shirt. I'm going to be the orange shirt guy. I got the freight. Like you have crushed it. But you have to have a point of view. And so many people, logistics executives specifically, are not willing to have a point of view. And you can name off the top of your head the guys in freight that do have a point of view. You and I both know who they are because they're sharing it on LinkedIn on a regular basis. So, but the contrary point of view is even more important. Sometimes when you get into big business, right, you don't want to be seen as someone who has a contrary point of view. Totally fine. So we use an actual strategy for this called an index. So you're going to take, let's just say that you're really big in, I don't know, fisheries. I don't know, freight. I don't know. You're moving fish. I don't know why, but you're moving fish, right? Who cares? It's not a pretty smelly business, but you're moving fish. You need to become the expert on your customer's business and put in front of them 3 KPIs on moving fish. That's important. Do the tariffs impact fish? Does weather impact fish? Does access to the FedEx LTL acquisition, to the FedEx freight LTL acquisition have anything to do with fish? I have no idea. But these are the moments that are happening in the larger ecosystem that you need to be commenting on to your fish customers. You know who doesn't need to know about the fish market? People in OEMs, the big guys that are doing, automotive. Don't send the fish content to the automotive guys, right? So pick a niche, get as tight as you can, and share economically relevant data with that niche. Super important.
I agree. I think that is one thing that through the help of your book, again, I'm going to plug this book a lot because I talk it because it clarified so much for me, Kara, when I'm going out there and going after stuff, right? And if you say you have that experience where it's like, I've moved a lot of full truckload in a couple of different verticals. It's very easy to find data specific to those verticals. So if you're like, hey, I like moving full truckload refrigerated and full truckload flatbed, cool. There's a ton of information you can go and target out there to your prospects. And, you talk about nurturing a lot in your book, right? And it's like, again, you have that information. What is that fine line between too much outreach and just enough outreach where you don't get blocked or they don't forget about you?
It is entirely client specific. Like there's no silver bullet. Like it was so funny. I had a client send me something last week and I said, listen, there's no silver bullet. If there was, I would have sold it to you. Like I would be selling silver bullets. Like I would love for there to be a silver bullet, but you have to do all the things right. Right. So I think, Chris, every ideal customer profile is a little different, right? If you are selling to a big company and you need to get in and there's technology involved and you'd like a little piece of that big pie, it's a super different energy than if you're trying to get in front of, small guys that move fish. Like it's just a really different energy. We like to say 28 touches in 60 days, right? So that's about a touch every 2 days. And we diversify the touches. Just email is not enough. Just phone calls is not enough. And then also multi-threading, right? There's more than just one person making transportation decisions at most of these organizations. So are you getting in front of the entire buying committee? And then are you tracking what they're doing inside of the ecosystem? Even inside of a tool like HubSpot, you can track buyer intent, and they're starting to dip their toe in the water on secondary intent. And it's such a difficult landscape right now, Chris. The word intent does not mean that there is a human on the other end intending to buy from you. Like that is not, like it is not a silver bullet. But if you take the 20,000 logos in the US that matter, intent should give you the 300 to 500 that are listening somewhere in the ecosystem of what you're doing this week. It's really just it's a opportunity cost. What's the word I want to use? Like you're getting rid of the opportunity cost in the larger market. We as in lead coverage have run into some folks who are like, oh, intent data, I should hand this to my sales team and it should be a silver platter. And it's just not. And even when it is, like when you get it from Optum or you get it from Carrier Source, there are still teams that just take a big old, what on it. Like they just can't figure out how to do halfway decent follow-up. So your question was like, how much is too much? And I gave you a roundabout answer on it's always different. We at Lead Coverage like to say 28 touches in 60 days. But I will tell you, I have multiple clients that are touching these intent, like these high intent leads twice and then DQing them.
Oh, wow.
It's unbelievable. So these are folks like they're paying me. I'm not cheap, right? They're paying me a bunch of money to go find these marketing qualified leads. Sometimes my team is even making the first dial like, hey, are you real? This is a real shipper on the other end of the phone. They're waiting, 6, 9, 12 days and then touching them with 2 emails and then going, well, they didn't reply. I guess your MQLs were garbage. And I'm like, you still have to sell. Like you still have to sell.
100%, Carol. I have somebody who does that for me now, right? Like we have all these leads that come through. Her sole job is to qualify these leads. She calls them It's like, hey, are you real? And I even, like, I don't filter through as much as I should. Like, I'm going to be adding some tasks to her day here as soon as you and I are done talking. But it is like, hey, can you just make sure like this person still even works there? Can you
Yes.
see, has that person switched roles, whatever that looks like?
Yes.
Because I know the company hasn't changed. I know they're still manufacturing the products that I know how to move, but maybe the person that have been reaching out to has switched roles, or there's somebody new. And I think it's so valuable out there. And I just have this, I follow a lot of sales content out there across different industries, right? Because I'm kind of a firm believer that developing a relationship is agnostic to the industry. It's more of developing the style that works for you as an individual. And, I look at it where some of these companies, they've been around for 100 years. They're probably going to be around for another 100 years. And you have to have the follow-up mentality of, I'm going to follow up till I die or they die. And it's just one of those things where
assist, right?
Yeah, but it's like you can stay in front of people now where, you know what, they might, and in case in point, I have been prospecting this one company for 4 years. I just got a response on a Sunday morning from the transportation manager who's in charge over there. And it took 4 years. But again, it was that consistent follow-up. And here's another ironic thing. I wasn't even reaching out to this individual. My information got passed to this individual.
Sure.
And yeah, so it's like, again, following that food chain internally and making sure you're reaching out to the right people. And, it's like, I used to think like it's cold call or die. I look at it now where it's like, you have to implement a multi-channel sales approach in regards to cold call, email, social media, whatever that looks like, showing up in person to get in front of people. And then once you get in front of them, you have to keep their attention. And as somebody who's created content for a very, very long time, I have an internal battle here with my podcast of going too extreme for views, because I could 10x the intensity of what I say and how I say it. It would benefit me short term, but long term, it goes counter to the brand that I've created.
Right.
And I think it's the same thing from a sales outreach perspective, where it's like, I could tighten it up a little bit and pepper them every other day, but like that doesn't align with who I am as a person, because in the event they do respond, I do get that meeting, I want my outreach to align to who I am as a person when they talk to me and be like, oh, all of those emails kind of make sense now after speaking to this guy.
Starts with, how you show up everywhere, right? Like you and I are very similar. You started out 6 years ago, like super hot, right? Yelling and screaming and dropping F-bombs. And it was a lot, right? You've toned down a lot, right? We at Lead Coverage have always tried to be as buttoned up as possible. We're big, we're expensive. I want to be corporate. And I'm also a woman. So I don't have the privilege of, spouting off at the mouth, because I have to be seen as, not sexy. I have, like there's a whole bunch of things that go into that.
For sure.
But I think what you said is really important in terms of the multi-threading, right? We often, as we're pulling, so total addressable markets in the book. So thinking about your TAM, how big your TAM is, your ideal customer profile. I'm so glad to hear you say that people are using it outside of just talking to me. That's great. It's not just the transportation guy, right? So we have this kind of fight with clients sometimes when they're like, well, you got us this ideal customer profile, but it's the wrong person. That's not an MQL. And I'm like, no. You have to think about the company is interested. Now we have to go find the 5 or 6 people that are going to make this decision. And just because you don't think this title of, I don't know, claims organizer, whatever it is, isn't your economic buyer, that's okay. It means that something's you don't know what's going on inside the organization where this claims adjuster is the reason that they found you, right? Like there's something going on where someone has been interested in what you're putting out there. Follow the thread, right? Follow the thread, go and dig a little deeper. And if I'm like really honest with you, Chris, like we're seeing like none of this. We're seeing very little sales guys, like, and they're almost all guys, salespeople like pulling on a thread and diving deeper into the MQL and like getting more information. They're doing a lot of like, I called this person, they were a claims adjuster, DQ the entire company. And us at Lead Coverage are like, man, like if I had an opportunity, like if someone from your team called me and you were a potential customer of mine, like I would call you. Like I go CEO to CEO and be like, hey, someone junior from your team reached out to someone on my team. I want to make sure that this actually came from you. Are you asking them to do research? How can I help? Do you want a book? Do you know the number of random books that we send? Random. So one day, Jeff, my head of sales, said to me, there are 12 people on the website from FedEx.
Jeez.
He gave me, shoot. I'm like, come on, they're not my client today. I'd love for FedEx to be a client. By the way, FedEx, I'd still love for you to be a client. So we took all 12 people who showed intent, and I sent each one of them a book with a love note in it. Now they haven't become a customer, but who the heck knows when, right? But if I had said, oh, this is the claims adjuster at FedEx, that's not my hyper specific ICP, then I would never have, you know what I mean? Like people have a tendency when it comes to the MQL, SQL, like marketing conversation to be like, this person isn't my perfect fit for me to sell to. And therefore I'm DQing the whole thing. And I think it's just a totally wrong approach.
I think more people, more sales reps, more people in this industry specific would be shocked at the amount of large companies that lurk on social media. And like, I mean, I created a newsletter for this show, like shout out DAT that we have a very big initiative on like reading the freight market, right? Because it's not just one specific data point. Most freight markets perform the exact same every single year over year. It's finding the peaks, finding the valleys, and then finding the consistency to deliver to them. I am kind of surprised at the amount of people who signed up for my newsletter. And especially when I get like their out of office replies in my inbox and I'm like, damn, they signed up for this. I'm like, holy shit. Right. So
people are looking for economically relevant information. And so they're signing up for this, and you never know, like 85% of the time they might delete you from the inbox, right? They're not going to read every single, but like, something is going to happen in their lives. There's going to be a Strait of Hormuz. There's going to be an issue at the border. There's going to be a weather problem. You are going to hit their inbox and they are going to be like, this is exactly what I need today. And suddenly you are the most important thing on their radar. And that is the 5% moment, Chris. That's the 5%. 95% of your buyers are not buying on any given day. There is a 5% moment where you are the answer to the problem. And that is where all of this pays off.
Kara, I love it. I know you got to get going here. If you got to jump off right away. That's fine. No harm, no foul. I will pump your book. Get in contact with Kara, you guys. Buy this book. I keep it on my desk year round for a reason. I reference it often as I'm out here developing my stuff. So Kara, thank you so much for your time today. How does anybody reach you though?
Yeah, so I'm prolific on LinkedIn. You can always DM me on LinkedIn. You can find us at leadcoverage.com. Chris, quick little drop here is, we do revenue engine workshops. So it's not like a lead coverage workshop. This is really based on the book. We also developed a workbook. It's an 80-page workbook, and we just turned it into video content, Chris. So I recorded 12 hours of video content listening to myself talk about this stuff. So shoot me a DM on LinkedIn, wherever you can find me, and we will set you up with a revenue engine boot camp workshop, and then also get you the content that we're putting out there.
Perfect. Kara, thank you so much for your time. That's going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. As always, if you got value in what you heard and you're not subscribed to the show, you guys. And if you're feeling ambitious, rank it on iTunes and Spotify, because if you see value, your network's going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon. Came back with a bang, window down, yelling out money, anything.